You just get a feel seeing so much football over the years, and there's sometimes where you're thinking, okay, you know what, this might be a little bit too big for player A. I have never thought that about Bo.
Yeah.
Now he's some games he hadn't played his best, some games he's played great, but I've never thought in a game like, man, he's shrinking here. You're going to have to figure out another way to win this game. Not one time, and I think that is an understated quality for an NFL quarterback, especially a quarterback in his second year.
Hello, DNVR fam. Welcome back to another episode, a special episode coming off the bye week. So there is no more, not 603 yet, not 604 yet, but we're coming off the bye week.
No, you ain't counting every single week now.
I'm counting every single week because
You know
I think
what?
that's incredible. Collinsworth did 500.
We'll do that I saw that last night,
Yeah.
right? I didn't realize, and Chris and I played against each other
Was he
in
a
the
beast?
league. He was a good player, man. He was first-round draft choice. He, believe it or not, was a sprint champion in the state of Florida.
Really? Wow.
I
He's
mean,
got to be moving.
Hello, and not many guys that look like him were ever sprint champions in the state of Florida. But he was a really good player, and I didn't realize until I was watching the game last night that it was 500 games for him. So props out to him.
Yeah, shout out to Chris Collinsworth. And this is Broncos X O's. I am one of your hosts, Bennie Fowler, and we have KOA's own Dave Logan. Man, how'd you spend the bye week? I know you were coaching. You guys got a playoff win. Shout out to you guys. But how'd you spend the week? Not calling a Broncos game. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always it's always kind of nice having a Sunday. We had a staff meeting, but having a Sunday where every single minute of your day from about 6:30 till about 10 p.m. is not accounted for.
Yeah.
So what I like to do is go back and working on some film stuff, but just take a look at some of the games and see if you can see things that you like and you can implement into a high school sort of level. But it's great. We don't need it as much as players need it.
Right.
The rest, right? But it was great.
Yeah, it was good to just watch and see the rest of the league and what's going on in the rest of the league. Some of the things that I saw were very interesting. Did any game catch your eye? I think when I first think about what I saw on Sunday, I think about New York Giants and Detroit Lions going back and forth, and they run the double reverse pass to Jameis Winston.
And he breaks the tackle. I mean, he breaks
a play.
Breaks the tackle and gets into the end zone. The Giants are 10 points ahead in the fourth quarter. How many times, not that we really care too much about the Giants, but how many times this year, we saw one here in Denver, where they've got not as big a lead as they had against the Broncos, but they've had fourth quarter leads. They just fired their defensive coordinator this morning.
Yep.
They have lost 2 games this year in which they've had 500 yards of offense.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I saw that game. What'd you think about, there was also in the early window, Kansas City versus Indianapolis. I thought that was a pretty interesting game. I thought Indianapolis was going to run away with it, especially after the first pass of the game is a pick inside Kansas City's own 5-yard line.
Yeah, a couple things struck me about that game. The Colts were ahead 20-9, and I thought, honestly, from that point on, they played not to lose the game. Mm-hmm. They played, which I understand, but they took their foot off the pedal, to me at least. They tried to sort of run out the clock. And at one point in the fourth quarter, the Chiefs had 25 first downs, and the Colts had 10. So it was the first game this year the Chiefs have been able to win in a one-score game. So they still have life after that win. I think there's going to be some interesting matchups. They've got a game coming up Thursday, right, against the Cowboys in Dallas. Dallas had a huge win coming back from being down 21 points against the Eagles. So I think that game Thursday in Dallas could be a really exciting game with the Cowboys and the Chiefs. But the Chiefs had to have that game, and they found a way to get it.
I think also just looking at the games and now shifting towards the Broncos and the focus of the Broncos, I think the Broncos wins get even better. You beat Dallas. You held Pickens and CeeDee Lamb in check. That's the best receiver duo in football. I mean, George Pickens is playing like a top 5 receiver. I would say him and Smith and Jigba are playing at an elite level, and they have a comeback win against Philly. The Broncos have a win against Philly. They have a convincing win last week against Kansas City, and they also played the Colts pretty close. They have the leverage call, and then Houston wins and beats Buffalo on Thursday night. I think the Broncos wins, and your confidence level after, if I'm a Broncos player and I'm sitting on the couch and I'm watching football on Sunday, I have to feel really good about where we are as a team and being and resting right now, but watching these teams beat up on each other right now. But, oh, my gosh, we beat all these teams.
Yeah, I think this. I think and I'm trying to think the last year, maybe when you were there, maybe in 2015, where you could say in late November, there's not anybody in football, or certainly in the AFC, that the Broncos could not beat. Mm-hmm. Now, there probably would be 4 or 5 teams that would say something similar. I'm sure Baltimore feels pretty good about where they are. They've won 5 games in a row. They started 1-5. They've got a championship pedigree. Kansas City's heartbeat is still alive, and so I'm sure they say, "Hey, we just got to get in. Mm-hmm. If we get in, we're gonna cause some problems." Buffalo, the running game has kind of disappeared, and Cook is not. Hasn't been able to get the ball, and they couldn't protect against Houston on the road defensively. So I think the AFC is wide open, and I think it is there for somebody to get on a roll late in the season, late in December, and play good football in January and wind up in Santa Clara.
100%. I think when I look back at the wins now, and I was watching a little bit of film from the Colts game, Bo made some really good throws.
Sure
that was
did.
Troy Franklin's breakout game. So you played them tough. You end up losing on a leverage call. You beat Houston. You beat Dallas. You beat Kansas City. Comeback win against Philly. Now you're looking at this calendar, and you're looking at, obviously, they're doing the self-scout. They did the self-scout last week. Now you're getting ready to go on this 6-game run. But now your confidence level picks up, and when I was looking at the highlights from those games, the positive plays from the Broncos, Bo Nix and the offense it's made, they've had their moments in all of those games and all of those wins. And to me, the next 6 weeks is all about rhythm, timing, and consistent play for 4 quarters. Not that you have to score 14 points each quarter, but consistently move the ball and get first downs.
Yeah, I would say if there's one thing that I would put at the top of the list from an offensive standpoint that they would love to get done in the last 6 games of the season, I think they still need to find a more efficient way to run the ball. Mm-hmm. And would I feel a lot better if J.K. Dobbins was healthy? I sure would. And just watching him during the course of the season, I've been really impressed with his ability to break tackles, to run with low pad level, to be patient, to have good vision. But he's hurt, and so Broncos have to move on. But I think it'll be interesting to see how Sean Payton sort of designs this run game to where when you have to run it, if it's a home playoff game or a home regular season game or what have you, and you have to run it late in the game to either put yourself in a position to kick a field goal or to run out the clock, do you have the ability to do that? And I think most of the playoff teams that go deep into the playoffs answer that question with a yes.
So you think more under center runs? I did not know how hard it was from an offensive line standpoint. I was actually talking to Tyler Polumbus about this, how hard it is for a gun run. So
it limits you.
We saw even Kansas City do this yesterday. They gave the ball to Kareem Hunt 30 times. Hey,
went
Patrick,
over 100 yards.
Yeah. Hey, Patrick, you're great, but for us to win these games, we got to be able to run the ball, and they put him under center.
I think there is something to say about the rhythm of the running game from under center as opposed to in the gun. When you're under center, when you take the snap, that running back is coming downhill. So the quarterback has to, of course, get away from center and get him the ball. When you snap the ball in the shotgun, the running back has to, a lot of times, parallel step and then get the ball, but he's not getting the ball with a full head of steam.
Right.
Now, I think there are creative ways you can run the ball out of the gun, but I do think by and large, and I think Bo is so good throwing on the run that if you really want to accentuate his boot game, whether it's naked, whether it's waggle, what have you, then the best way to do that is not out of the gun. To me, at least, it's with him under center.
Yeah.
So, that's, again, Sean and the offensive staff, they're going to have to figure out what they think is best for this team, given the personnel they have and where they are.
Absolutely. And winning late in December, and it's about to start getting cold, like you said.
Yeah.
It's about to start getting cold. Special teams is going to matter. So
No doubt.
we touched on the offense a little bit, but I think special teams going forward is going to have no mental errors. Substitutions have to be cleaned up. But what we saw against the winning formula against Kansas City, and I think going forward, is the field position battle. Blocking things up for Mims,
Yep.
whether it's a 6-box or a 7-box. And for those out there, when I say 6-box, that's when you have your double gunners, you have your gunners double viced out there, and you are trying to return the football, or you double vice one gunner. But I think Mims can change the games. And when you think about championship teams throughout the years, they've had players make plays on special teams. I think that is going to be something super important going forward.
It's a huge part of the game, and you hear coaches talk about it all the time, and really what they say is true, how important special teams. I mean, you can literally lose a game. You can play well on offense, well enough to win. You can play well enough on defense to win, and you can lose the game on special teams. So you've got a guy like Marvin Mims who's averaging in his career over 14 yards per punt return. That is an astronomically high number,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that is the best all time in Broncos franchise history for somebody who's returned more than 10 punts. So, and again, you and I talked about it, I don't know, a couple shows ago. I played against Rick Upchurch, who was a fantastic punt return guy. Marvin Mims is averaging more per punt return in his career than Rick did.
Jeez.
And Rick was a Hall of Fame caliber punt returner. So, yeah, when you have a guy like that, and not every team has a guy like that, then you got to do everything you can. And it does also force your opponent to figure out, okay, we really don't want to kick to him. So now you start, as we've talked about, you try to angle the punts. And NFL punters are great at this, but then, 1 out of 7 or 8 punts is going to be shanked out of bounds for about 21 yards. So there's a lot at stake with respect to the special teams of the Broncos, making sure that they win that battle every single week.
Defensively, where over the next 6 weeks, what do you want to see out of them to take it or ratchet it up a notch? And I mean, we're talking about, the best defense right now in the league. What could be better for them? I think turning the ball over, I want to see interceptions. I'd like to see that. I think Hufunga's been in and around the ball.
Oh, man.
With opportunities to have interceptions. I think that is the next step. Tillman, he's got great hands and great after catch ability on his couple of picks, but I'd like to see the secondary take the ball away.
Yeah, I think ideally you work so hard on turnovers in practice, and you stress turnovers, and you're always trying to rip the ball out. And sometimes, you know what, man, I think just sometimes it just happens. You can stress it, you can work on it, and then like the first part of the year, I mean, they weren't getting any picks. Mm-hmm. Then they went through a stretch where, Tillman and Jahdae Barron had a nice pick in the Dallas game. So, but I think this, in terms of things I'd like to see, you'd like to get healthy. We don't know how far off Pat Surtain is, or how, maybe better to look at it, how close he is to coming back. Got to figure out how Riley Moss can improve in some of his technique. I still think Riley Moss is a really good player. I know he gets roasted in social media.
They're killing him.
Yeah. No, he's got to work on not being so handsy, right? Receivers and defensive backs in practice, I mean, you're constantly. That's why receivers' fingers are all jacked up. You're constantly battling hand position. You're trying to slap hands off. I mean, when I first got in the league, again, I said I played for a Hall of Fame receiver. He was my coach, Raymond Berry, and I played with Paul Warfield, who also was in the Hall of Fame. And Raymond Berry used to say, when they try to put their hands on you, you have to come through. And he said, Dave, honestly, you're trying to break their hands.
Yep.
And I was like, I'm fresh out of University of Colorado. I'm thinking, I'm trying to break their hands? I said, you never let a defensive back put his hands on you without paying a price. So I think with Riley Moss, his situational football is so important, right? You think back to the Philadelphia game. And again, this comes from a fan of Riley. I think Riley is a very good player and can be an excellent player in this league for a long time. That said, I think they were playing quarters on a 3rd and 17, and he comes up and he presses Devontae Smith. And to me, there's just not a good reason to do that, not on 3rd and 17, right? So, and then, when receivers are looking back and the ball's underthrown, it's the toughest thing for a defensive back to do because he's running as fast as he can. He's looking into your eyes, and when you look up and then you start to slow down, there's just a natural ability or natural reaction to try to grab to impede that receiver from coming back. That's something Riley has got to get a hold of and fix.
Yeah, and hopefully he does that, and
But he's had some bad calls.
Yeah, he has.
Just saying.
They are picking on him now. They are picking on him a little bit now, but he said that during this week in practice, he'll be having the boxing mitts on and just, to stop him from grabbing, which I think is something that, if he does that throughout the rest of the season, it will translate over to Sundays. Hey, DNVR fam, we are starting the Black Friday sale. On Monday, it is for members, and then Thursday, we are going to the general public. How does that look on me right there?
Looks good.
One of the best ways to support DNVR, and we would really appreciate it.
And it's cool gear, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool gear.
And Dave wears these hats, and hey, I love some swagger, especially the black and white. I'm always wearing some black. So this is a great way to support. Really appreciate you. Mondays for members only, and then Thursdays to the general public. Support right here. We got some questions from some fans over here, and they said, I keep hearing people say we can win a Super Bowl with Bo Nix, but can we win a Super Bowl because of Bo Nix? And I think you can win a Super Bowl because of Bo Nix. I think he has a unique skill set, and all of the top quarterbacks, most of the top quarterbacks in the league right now have this skill set of throwing on time, which Bo can do. They have a unique ability to extend the play, and then they have the clutchness in the fourth quarter. And I think Bo has all 3 of those traits. He's done all 3 of those things throughout the year. When I think about winning a Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts isn't always called the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
But in pressure situations, he does make those plays. And you saw him last year win playoff games in any type of fashion, whether it was throwing the ball, whether it was him extending the play, running the ball, and then in the biggest moments, making throws. And I think Bo Nix can have that same recipe this year during the playoffs, where he'll have to use his legs sometimes. He can do that. He'll have to make the throw sometimes. He can do that. But ultimately, he will.
That's 4 he will do's.
He will make the plays when he has to make the plays. He will make the plays when he has to.
He will do what he has to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which is the most important thing. And I think when I look at Jalen Hurts, the wins and the trophy is all that matters.
Did you win? I would say this for that
he will do.
person that asked the question. I don't know that the Eagles won the Super Bowl because of Jalen Hurts last year. I think they won it because of their running game and because of the defense, and then Jalen made, a bunch of plays in that game as well. But there are some pretty good quarterbacks playing in the NFL right now that have not won the Super Bowl. I mean, Joe Burrow, been to 1. Lamar Jackson hasn't been to any. Josh Allen hasn't been to a Super Bowl.
Sam Darnold playing well, hasn't been to 1.
I mean, so I don't think that's an important question. I mean, for the texter to say you can win with Bo Nix as your quarterback, but can you win because of him? I don't think it has to be because of Bo, but I agree with you. I think Bo has enough ability to make critical throws, big-time plays, and I think, honestly, he's got the guts of a burglar. I think he's a guy that, it's not too – I would worry if I thought in a game, because so much football over the years, and there's sometimes where you're thinking, okay, you know what, this might be a little bit too big for player A. I have never thought that about Bo.
Yeah.
Now, he's some games he hadn't played his best, some games he's played great, but I've never thought in a game like, man, he's shrinking here. You're going to have to figure out another way to win this game. Not one time, and I think that is an understated quality for an NFL quarterback, especially a quarterback in his second year.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. Yeah, I don't think there are any moments where I thought the moment was too big for Bo. And actually, I think the bigger the moment, I think the better he plays.
He kind of thrives in it.
So that's something that you want as a teammate. That's something that you want as a fan. They said there are two different types of receivers, but who would you rather have on the Broncos long term if you had to choose, Troy Franklin or Pat Bryant? Well, I'm not going to choose right there. That's for George Payton. That's for other people. I'm not playing fantasy football right here. But I think these two receivers actually complement each other pretty well. And I think Troy Franklin has this unique explosiveness in his ability to stretch the field. And I think you're starting to see him play with confidence. And one of the things that I've loved seeing throughout the entire season is how he's bounced back from drop footballs. And I think that's a hard thing to do as a receiver is if you put one or two on the ground, which against Kansas City, I think he put one or two on the ground early in the first half, and to still come back and catch the ball with his hands in the second half speaks to where his mind is, and also speaks to his connection and ability with Bo to continue to come back to me as a receiver. So I think his skill set is great. It's not quite Jameson Williams from Detroit, but you have that type of dynamic playmaking ability where you can stretch the field. With Pat Bryant, I think this is your intermediate guy in between the hashes, catches anything. So I like his ball skills the most out of any of the receivers in the receiver room. I think he has a tremendous amount of catching confidence. He catches the ball extremely well, smooth. He's running routes out there like a veteran. So I think he is that intermediate target. He's going to be now your slant runner. He is going to be your choice runner. Also just your intermediate 10 to 15 yard receiver. And he makes those plays across the middle.
Yeah, I would say I don't have a lot to add to that. I would say about Pat Bryant in his rookie season, what's impressed me is he ain't scared. S-C-A-R-T. He will go across the middle even now, not as it used to be, but even now in the NFL can be a dangerous.
Was it crazy when you were playing?
Oh boy, yeah. I mean, defensive backs were allowed to go at it a little bit differently, and so there was much more of an intimidation factor in the NFL back in the mid '70s to mid '80s. I mean, and they would just tell you. They would tell you often during the game, you come in here, you're going to find out what's up. So, but Pat Bryant is, I can see what the Broncos really liked when they drafted him out of Illinois. He's a third-round pick. And you remember when he was picked, there were the draft experts that said, man, I had this guy going in the fifth round, or this is a real stretch, a real reach. But I can see clearly what both Sean Payton and George Payton liked about Pat Bryant. He's excellent in the run game. He will dig out safeties. He's not at all fearful about running in the middle. Most catches in the NFL are contested catches. You're going to see at times somebody get open by a yard or two and make a nice catch. But most catches, you're going to have somebody as close to you, to me, and you got to go up and find a way to get the ball. He's got a big body and strong hands, and so I really like his skill set. I think he's going to develop into a very, very good, solid, accountable receiver. I'm with you on Franklin. I'd like to see him catch it a little more consistently, and I believe you can. I think you have to put a premium on not dropping the ball. It's easy for me to sit here. I got nobody trying to hit me, right? But there has to be, and you and I have talked about this, different mindset today because they throw the ball so much. We didn't throw the ball nearly as much. And so there was a premium on when the ball was in the air coming to you, it was like, bro, I'm going to go get this ball. Yeah. No matter what happens, I'm going to get it. So you have to have the confidence for a slight receiver, and he's put on maybe 10, 12 pounds from last year, but he's still slight. You have to have that confidence. Like, listen, if I'm running a basic route or I'm running something that's an in cut, I can catch it and withstand what's coming.
Yep.
If you and that has to be developed in receivers like Troy Franklin. And so I think he can, but I'd like to see him continue to work on just catching the ball more consistently because it's pretty obvious they're going to go to him.
100%. This next texter said, if Mims diversifies his route tree, how much more dangerous does that make him? I don't think Marvin needs to diversify his route tree. I think what he's called to do and asked to do, he executes at a high level. I think one of the things that you probably would love to see Marvin more in the offense, but Marvin is not the tallest guy, and Bo is not a very tall quarterback. So I see Sean really leaning towards the taller receivers and having more of those guys run the intermediate routes. I think Marvin's your guy down the field. He becomes your gadget guy with the reverses and screens. But sometimes I feel like it's harder for Bo to see him down the field. So I think Marvin has a great route tree. I think he actually runs routes really well. I just don't you don't always see those called for him because I think Sean would like to see a bigger body in there so Bo can see that and anticipate throws a little bit better.
Yeah, I may look at it a little bit differently. I think that
I'm glad you disagree. My mom was watching the show and she said we should disagree more.
Your mom?
Yeah, she said we should disagree.
She raised you. She raised you. She knows you. She knows you. I think that when you look at last year, Marvin really came on the last probably third of the season. Had some big catches. Had 2 catches against Cincinnati, both touchdowns. One right as the game was about to end that put him in a position to either tie it or win it. And so I would like to see more ways to try to get him with his hands on the ball. I don't completely disagree in terms of his size. I do think it's well documented that Sean likes bigger receivers. And I think as a head coach in the NFL, you're going to develop sort of your style over the course of time, and you want guys that remind you of guys you've coached in the past, and I get that. But Mims is so dangerous with his hands on the ball. So my hope is that as we move forward, and next week, next Sunday night, or this coming Sunday night in D.C., that Mims becomes a bigger part, whether it's jet sweeps or whether it's screens. They don't have anybody like him in terms of what he can do after the catch. I know they like Franklin, and I think Troy's talented in this regard as well. But Mims is a world-class punt returner with his hands on the ball. So to me, I'm going to try to find ways to get his hands on the ball and let him, after a catch, act like he's returning a punt.
We should hire it.
That's for your mom. I just want you to know.
Mom, he said that was for you.
What's your mom's name?
Teresa.
All right, Teresa. Shout out to you.
So the Broncos are continuing to win, and I haven't been a person who bets a lot in my life, especially on the betting apps, but working here at DNVR and working with Henry and RK and Zach, they now have gotten me into wanting to put some more money on the Broncos, doing the player props, using the Bet365 app. So now I'm starting to get really involved. And the Broncos being 9-2 obviously is a big reason why. And I think I know a little bit about the game. So why not put my knowledge to the test? Right now at Bet365, they have great offers available for Broncos fans. They have their Thursday night football offer, which is a $10 safety net bet. They have their Sunday night football offer, which is a $365,000 jackpot. Place $10 bet on a first-time touchdown scorer and get a split of $365,000 in bonus bets if your player scores the final touchdown of the game. Also, with the Bet365 early payout offer, you're a winner if your team goes up by 17 points with an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. Download the Bet365 app and use the code DNVR365 when you sign up. Breaking news from Bet365. New customers now get $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use the code DNVR365, deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Disclaimer, you must be 21 years or older or physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply. Growing up, I loved playing basketball. When I was in the 4th grade through 8th grade, basketball was my favorite sport. It's actually still my favorite sport to this day. I mean, I wish I actually could have played that professionally because the contracts are guaranteed and they make a lot more money. But if you're a parent of a 4th or 8th grade kid and you are someone who's listening who wants to play in a great competitive basketball league here in Colorado, sign up for the Gold Crown Basketball League today. The Gold Crown Foundation was started by Bill Hanslick many years ago, and it still continues to be a staple of this great community. They have divisions for 4th through 8th grade teams. They have a feeder team for high schools and gold, silver, and bronze divisions. You can play in both high school gyms and the Gold Crown Fieldhouse. Gold Crown has leagues in volleyball, golf, flag football. It's a nonprofit organization that serves 18,000 plus kids annually in the Denver metro area. It's also a great way for kids to have fun playing sports while also playing in a competitive environment that's going to help them if they want to continue to keep playing sports in high school and potentially beyond. Learn more and sign up by scanning the QR code on the screen or visiting goldcrownfoundation.com. Hey, man, really appreciate you joining Dave and I, man. Obviously, I have a tremendous amount of respect for you. You've been like an older brother to me. You took me under your wing. So really appreciate you joining, man. Just thoughts on the Broncos right now in terms of how they're playing, man. Going for the number 1 seed, 9-2 right now. What's initial thoughts and impressions of this team so far coming off the bye week?
Man, like I have mixed feelings, if I could just be honest, right? Because I'm like, is this team good, like I'm trying to kind of wrap my head around it. Is it Super Bowl caliber, or is it just a team that's gonna get in the playoffs and next thing you know it's done? And I know I got confidence in the defense. It's the offense right now that's kind of making me like, what's going on? But Wiggle, like in 2015, it was the same thing, right? Like we had defense and the offense, we just had to make plays to get in and out of games. And so when I see this Broncos team right here, as crazy as it may sound, it's very familiar to that 2015 team, when it comes to like offense and defense, So I don't know. I'm happy we got over the hump with the Chiefs and finally beat the Chiefs for sure. But I'm just looking forward to the more and more games and really getting the playoffs and see exactly what team. I hope that I'm underestimating him. You know what I mean? I hope that, man, it's a parade coming to Denver because I know the Broncos fans definitely are deserving of that. It's been a while. 2015, really, like we're back winning now, so it feels good to be a Broncos fan.
Hey, Emmanuel, I've told this story before, but I want to get your take on this. When you were with Pittsburgh, and I was familiar with you because I like watching the position that I used to play, and you a speed guy, you take the top off guy, big play guy. But what really impressed me is when you got to Denver, you had an ability to go across the middle and catch the ball, unlike most guys that are your size and have your kind of athletic ability. And I just have a lot of respect for guys that are willing to do that. And my question to you is, as a receiver, how did you develop sort of that thing that allowed you mentally to take that thing inside and do what you had to do to catch the ball?
I was just telling someone this last night. Me and Antonio Brown got drafted to the Steelers. And when I first came into the league, 180 pound receivers, we were automatically deemed a number 3. We cannot climb up the chart to be the number 2 or number 1 receiver or be outside. They just had guys my size, right, in the slot, right, just working the slot. And then in Pittsburgh, he moved me and Antonio Brown to the outside. And that's when it became fun, because most of the time they got like the 6'3", 6'4" guys on the outside, the smaller guys on the inside. But me and Antonio started stretching the field and doing that. And it's crazy because I don't want to take credit for it, but like as far as like Chad Ochocinco, myself and Antonio, I feel like we were kind of the receivers that really started to do that, and move outside. But as far as like catching the ball over the middle, Benny will tell you, man, I just love football. I truly love the game. I still remember Tuesdays we would have days off, and me and Benny showing up to the facility, right? And we're catching hundreds and hundreds of balls, just loving the game. So, I mean, every single time that I went across the middle, I never even thought about the hit that I was gonna take. Like that was never ever a thought in my mind. The thought was I need to make a big time play for my team. And when I got up, man, like the roar of the crowd, the Broncos country in the stands, I'm getting up, pounding my chest, and my teammates like eat crazy a little bit, but you got to be a little crazy to play the position. But no, I really love the game, man. And I was just telling my son that too. I was like, man, like you gotta love it. And if you're not passionate about it, if your heart's not in it, it's gonna show. You know what I mean? And every time that I stepped on the field, I just wanted to show them how much I love the game of football, but how much I appreciated the Broncos fans.
You've been on a lot of winning teams and teams that have gone to Super Bowl, whether it was here in Pittsburgh, here in Denver, and then San Francisco. And then you and I, and shout out to you for inviting me to that workout with Drew Brees at Valor, where we're working out with Drew Brees, and Drew's like, who are you with? And then I end up signing with the Saints literally like a week later because you invited me to that workout. But you've been on a Sean Payton coach team, and a team that he deemed as one of those Super Bowl teams. I know we were in training camp when he brought out that huge bottle of Camus and said in 2020 that he thought this was a Super Bowl team. He said that about this team. What do you think he's saying to these guys right now with 6 weeks left to go in the season?
I remember I went to training camp and Sean Payton walked to me. He's like, I got me a Super Bowl team. And you got to believe that, right? You got to believe that. And it's showing right now. The team is 9-2. They got an opportunity to seize home field advantage. I mean, everything that he saw, I mean, it's coming into fruition. And so, with Sean, like I always enjoy playing because he's a mastermind. Like when I was in New Orleans, it was a few times I was just like, this defensive coordinator does not have a chance with this guy. He's always 2 plays ahead. Now this year, not so much. He's trying to find his niche. He's trying to find his groove. But when the Broncos signed Sean Payton, I started wearing these hats a lot more. If I'm being honest, because we had some down years trying to figure out the coach situation, but I knew what Sean Payton was going to do, and he's showing us what he's capable of doing. And so as long as he's a head coach, we always have a chance as a Bronco.
Hey, last question for me, Emmanuel. We have talked about over these weeks Troy Franklin and kind of how he's emerged. Second-year receiver, put on 10 to 12 pounds of good weight coming into camp. Guy that obviously can really run. When you see his game, Troy Franklin's game, just break it down a little bit in terms of what a veteran wide receiver looks at when he sees that young guy run.
Yeah, when I see Troy Franklin, I see a quarterback that got a lot of confidence in him. Because I'm like,
sure
man,
does.
Troy Franklin left, Troy Franklin right, Troy Franklin up the middle, Troy Franklin. I'm like, Bo, where Mims and where Sutton at, man? Like, let's spread the love, man. Hopefully, Thanksgiving coming up, start giving out some of these turkeys or something. Start giving out some more balls. Man, I like Troy. Like I think he has, big play capabilities. From everything that I showed him to be so young, I mean, he's making play after play after play. He's getting a lot of opportunities. If you would have told me prior to the season that Troy Franklin would have been getting as many targets as he's getting now, shoot, almost more than Cortland Sutton, and damn near trying to deem him the number 1 receiver, I would have been like, no way, because I know what Cortland is capable of. But again, in our Super Bowl team, you need 3 or 4 receivers, right? And they have that, right? I think what you said, if they let Mims kind of go off. I love Mims. Mims is explosive. I mean, I even think about the plays he made last year when Sean Payton, when the offense was kind of stagnant, and the next thing you know, they're feeding Mims because they know that he has the hot hand, you know. So I think just on a from an offensive standpoint, I like Troy Franklin, but I would love for them to spread the ball around a little bit more. You know what I mean? But everything that I've seen from his game, I mean, his ceiling is super high. You know, like he's making plays in the clutch. You know, I know him and Boga has chemistry. They played in college together. So from everything that I'm seeing, man, to be a young guy, he's making big time plays.
Ian, last question for me, my brother, man. Take us inside or take us onto the sidelines, because I remember this really well, and I've told this story on this podcast before, playing against Kansas City, and you had no targets. And so you started talking in the third person. You said, how does Emmanuel Sanders not have any targets? Do you remember that? And do you remember that next drive, because of penalties, you end up having 99 yards on that drive and you actually scored a touchdown? Can you take us into that mentality that you had of just, hey, I need the ball?
Oh, man. Somebody said, hey, send me my top 100. And I'm over Adam Gase. And I'm screaming at Adam, and I'm laughing at myself now, but I'm telling him, let me be the guy to win the game. Get me the ball. Let me be the guy to win the game. And I'm like, you are a nut, dude. You know what I mean? You know how many guys I've played with that have, from high school, from college, that in those moments have shied away from those moments, who don't want the ball? You know, and I've always been the type of receiver to sit back and say, look, I prepare for this, I train for this. If I drop the ball, I deal with it. If I catch it, I'm a hero. You know, and I was always willing to take the good with the bad, and however it deemed. But yeah, that Kansas City game, I definitely. Well, you know, you got so many stories to me, man. Like, come on, man. Like, you know, I don't want to say I was a diva at receiver, but you almost got to be a diva to a certain extent. But like, I never wanted to be a distraction to the team. I always wanted to help the team. And so whatever it is, we were struggling offensively. I always was that guy saying, like, just give me the ball and let me help us win. Because I know that I can help us win, you know? So it came from a good place, you know? I want to say I'm a diva receiver, but I don't know how A.J. Brown is taking this situation. He all in the media now.
No, you're not a diva. You're not a diva receiver at all, brother. You're not a diva receiver at all. Man, E, really appreciate you joining, man. Broncos X O is my brother. It's great to see you.
Great to see you guys as well. Dave, go win it all, man. Go win it again, Dave.
Appreciate you, Emmanuel. Talk soon.
All right. See you guys.
So, Dave, we got Vance Joseph. Bye week is always a good time to, pick up your media availability, and Vance made himself available. And what I think when I saw this interview, I was like, oh, Vance is now stepping into getting ready to interview for head coaching jobs.
I don't think there's any doubt about that.
No one ever complains. We just play, and the results are the results, and it's falling our way, but it's not accident. It's purpose. We talk about how to finish games. Sean's big on vision. Everything we do in the program, from players to every game plan, is what's the vision for this game. It's what's the vision for this player. So it makes it easy, and it allows the coaches and George to kind of, always looking for the right fit. And this is my 19th season coaching in the league, man. And you rarely have teams that are so close knit, and that's all three areas. That's teams, that's defense and offense. This team, my guys love Bo Nix, right? So he can't do any wrong, right? So we trust Bo Nix. But the team environment, the locker room, on the sideline, no one ever panics, No one complains, no one panics, man. It's about just winning that football game, And we know on defense, if we just keep playing, he's going to make a play. We watch it every day in practice. I mean, this kid is special as a person, as a player. His talent's off the charts. So we trust he's going to make a play. So it's a close-knit team, and you rarely in this league have a bunch of guys who play for each other.
It's very rare we see a former head coach come back to a city and say, you know what, I'm going to be a coordinator and I'm going to coach as one of the units. There's a humility in there. There's a lack of ego in there. And there's also someone who's very secure in their place. with the fans and of course with their place in the league and as far as all the competitive nature goes and being finally one of the head coaches, what was the conversations and did you hesitate saying, am I really coming back here to be the
Right.
assistant after I was the head man?
No, it was never a problem for me. Obviously Sean's been a head coach for a long time, a very successful head coach. Denver to me was it's a home. It's home for me, right? I played ball in Boulder. I lived there after I graduated college. I was a head coach here for 2 seasons, so it was home for me. So I didn't leave Denver so bitter, where I couldn't come back. My 2 years in Denver as a head coach, I thought it was tough times, but it was the best I can do at the moment, and it wasn't bad football, right? It was just not enough time to get it fixed. So I didn't see it as failure for me. It was my first opportunity. It didn't go right. I look in the mirror, and I fix me, and I come back and let's do it. Let's do it better.
Well, right there, we hear from defensive coordinator Vance Joseph. Number one, the first thing I think about is somebody who is super self-aware, takes accountability for his time here, but also, I've been bitter in my life, and I was bitter when I left the Broncos because I didn't want my time to be up here. They didn't pick up my option for me to continue to be here, and I held it. I held that for a long time. It was cool to see Vance just say that, he didn't hold on to that. Also, the vision that they have for the team in each game, you can actually see that play out every game that they've played. What's the vision for actually winning this game? I think that's very unique for teams to really put that type of game plan together, and you see that how they've done that, and you've seen how they've done it with the roster, and then also how they love Bo Nix and how close this team is. Those are just my biggest takeaways. What did you think? I know I saw that. This is my second time seeing it. What did you think? First initial thoughts.
I think you were a little bitter back when your mom was partial to me. I detected a little bitterness there from your standpoint. No, I think both of us, first of all, we really like Vance. I think Vance has approached this stint in the league, the defensive coordinator's job with the Broncos, in a humble way. And I think not everybody does that, right? The league is an ego-driven league in many respects, and I think there's a certain amount of ego that I think everybody has, but those that are able to sort of manage it and not let it be the driving force behind decisions that you make are better off. And I think Vance, listen, I think the job that he's done this year, and I've talked to him a couple times during the season. What's impressed me as much as anything is to watch his group on the sideline. I'm a big believer in body language and not separating the offense and the defense. It can happen sometimes because of how either unit plays, but I've seen that defense go out when the offense was sort of going through a stage of struggling, coming off the field. The offense is kind of walking off the field because it's like, damn, can we get something going? I never one time have seen a defensive player not go and dap up the guys or pat them, say, hey, keep. It's just been really, from my standpoint, an old school standpoint, fun to see that, because that's taught, that's coached, and then it's adopted by players. And so they have, and I think Sean and George were intentional with how they sort of manufactured this locker room. They were looking for good team guys that love football, guys that are not in it for just what can you do for me. They have a whole bunch of guys like that. And then you add that they're really talented. So I think this is going to be a difficult team down the stretch. And I do think Vance is going to get more than one opportunity in the offseason to interview for head coach, and I would not be surprised at all if he's a head coach next year somewhere else. Very
refreshing just to hear his answers.
Absolutely.
Right there. It's just I'm very happy for him.
I am too.
Very happy.
I am
for him.
too.
Commanders coming up this week. Sunday night football. Sunday night games always important. Every game's important, but nationally televised game coming off a bye week. Any worries about rust? I am a little worried about the rust. You've had a couple weeks off here now.
Yep.
Thoughts in terms of the Commanders? They're playing against Vaughn. Shout out to Von Miller. He's trying to pass DeMarcus Ware on the sack list. I think he needs 4 or 5 more. But interesting game coming up here. I wouldn't say it's a trap game, but you're traveling across the country on a Sunday night football game.
Yeah, you're not sure if Jaden Daniels is going to be back or not.
They'd be stupid to play him.
Well,
against this defense. And he's
could be
3-8.
Could be, right? But you know how players want to play. So I don't know. I'd like to see him not play too. But I think they're going to be rested. I think they needed a rest. And in all honesty, I don't think you ever really know if it's going to be a little rusty or is it going to be fresh, or are they going to I just don't think you know. As hard as coaches in this league work in terms of trying to manage time away and then get their team right mentally and get them back in the frame of mind, and I just think sometimes it's sort of the roll of the dice. But I do think the Broncos are aware of what's at stake and the kind of season that they have earned to this point. And right now, they're in the midst of a run to secure the number 1 seed in the AFC. It's about that. Win the West and get the number 1 seed. And so with New England winning yesterday, they can ill afford, to drop a game that, at least on paper, that they should find a way to win.
100%. And I think that is very important. I think that's what Sean's message is actually going to be throughout this week, is that it's not necessarily about the Commanders. It's about us taking care of business. Let's not play with our food right now.
Doubt.
Let's go across the country. Let's handle business.
Yep.
And let's continue to get better every single week. And we should be hitting our peak performance at the right time, late December, early January. So I think it's more about the Broncos, and I think that's how they're going to approach this game. And I think the Broncos get a win on Sunday Night Football.
I do too.
Another great episode of Broncos X O. It's good to see you, man.
Good seeing you too.
So, good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
I'll be out there with my Canada Goose to make sure I'm warm. Thanks, everybody.
We all silly like the mayor.